Welcome into the Warchant Report, powered by Cummins. I'm Aslan Hajavandi, joined by managing editor of Warchant.com, Ira Schofel, and director of original content / executive producer of the Jeff Cameron Show, Tom Lang. Thanks for being here, everybody. Hit the thumbs up. Tell a friend about the program. Tell a friend about the awesome things they can do if they have an installed RV generator from Cummins. CumminsLifestyle. It's all one word. Give them a follow on Instagram. Find out why they are the world's best-selling installed RV generators in history. Just a quick follow over at Instagram, all one word, Cummins Lifestyle. Come hang out before the game if you're going to be in town in Tallahassee before the finale, the home finale for the Florida State Seminoles. 5 p.m. meet and greet over at Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, the People's Bar and Grill. 2475 Appalachia Parkway. Corey Clark, always guest of honor. He'll be there. Tom Lang probably be there. I know I'll be there. Maybe we can get Ira out there too. It's the last one. Come on out. Say hi. It's always a fun time over at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. All right, let's begin then. Virginia Tech coming to town Saturday night. Let me ask you this, though, Ira Schofel. What if they win out? I'm kidding. We're not going to do that this show, everybody, I promise. But it's also kind of, it feels a little bit like low-hanging fruit to talk about. Real quick,
okay. Just since you opened that door. Thinking back on that whole thing, he triggered me so much. Corey triggered me so much on Seminole headlines by going back to the hypothetical that Mike Norvell keeps his job if he wins these last 3 games, that it got me so far to where I'm like, no, get rid of him. He's done. And that's not really where I've been, but it's like Corey it was I don't think that was his plan, but it definitely kind of got me going to the point where I'm like, yeah, man, I guess theoretically, maybe it would be a thought, but who in the world thinks there's any prayer that this team would win 3 games? Sorry. Just been thinking about that a whole lot since we had Seminole headlines on Tuesday.
You deserve the platform for that, Ira. I do apologize for asking kind of another low-hanging fruit question about quarterback play. And, I don't know how much of it it's the sport is mimicking NFL football now. And you sign a free agent and, they've got a body of work that you look at, but then you see the good in it. You're like, all right, we can get that, bring them into our building, and we can figure this whole thing out. Do you think right now Florida State ultimately they're getting or got out of Tommy Castellanos what they expected?
I think in the ballpark, yeah, sure. I think, you never go into a situation like this, especially when you bring in a big-time playmaker, thinking about the worst-case scenarios and thinking about, okay, what happens if he doesn't get healthy? Now, I'm sure that was if he doesn't stay healthy, and I'm sure that was somewhat in their thought process, but you hope that he does stay healthy. And so I think when you talk about what you wanted out of it, you want him to stay healthy. And if you have the guy that we saw early in the season, those first 2 or 3 games, man, this is a totally different situation. The reality is he is the size he is. And so there was not a strong likelihood he was going to stay healthy. But that changes everything. And so from that standpoint, I think he's been an improved passer. If you look at his QBR rating, which was abysmal at Boston College, it was in the 30s. It's gone way up. I think it's in the 70s. It's top 35 or so in the country. So you can't say you were expecting more than that from him. And the threat of his legs still, I think, does help in your running game. So I think you've gotten about what you could have you got about what you probably could have realistically expected, but I'm sure their hopes were that he would stay healthy, be an electric playmaker, and really take this season in a different direction.
Everything in this world, Tom, is relative, and expectations for Tommy were probably one place on August 29th, but then after what he did against Alabama, things probably changed. You think within the building it changed in terms of what they expected to get out of Tommy and what they've got from him so far?
I don't know if maybe, they might have said after the Alabama game, well, what do we have here? I mean, they could have been on that level, but then he gets banged up in the next game, and I largely agree with Ira. I think as a downfield passer, he is who he has been for the most part. Fewer interceptions than his worst season, that's for sure. But I think he's been about the same there. I think he's been better than they hoped for in terms of leadership, as crazy as that sounds for Florida State being 4-5. And I'm talking about when they acquired him all the way back in January. There was a lot of noise with Boston College. I'm not a Bill O'Brien fan. I don't know many people that are Bill O'Brien fans. But still, you worry about that particular situation and you say, who's this guy going to be? And if things get tough, is he going to pack it in? I had that question, and he hasn't. I think he's been better than expected in that regard. I think the thing that obviously has been below expectations has been the use of his legs, which is largely due to injury, and that's Ira's point, and I totally agree. So I think it's within the spectrum. There's a little bit of on par, there's a little bit ahead of pace, and a little bit of behind what they hoped.
Going to the defense now, Ira, I don't know how much of it is just, we're such prisoners of the moment. So, most recently the defense has been playing better, but Tony White's seemingly been outside the crosshairs of most of the fans' wrath. And there's even some people that think that, they hope maybe he would stay if there would be a change at the top of it. What has it been about Tony and the defense that has kind of kept him a little bit inoculated from all this? Because you look at that losing streak, man, they surrendered 46 points, granted double overtime, 28 to Miami, 34 to Pitt. But that seems to have largely been forgotten. Has it looked that much better to absolve him of that kind of stretch?
Well, I think if that's the feeling right now, and it probably is the feeling right now, but I think that's probably we're all kind of prisoners of the moment. To your point, that losing streak was largely about the defense. If you score 40-something points on the road, you have to win that football game. If you're playing at home against Pitt and you move the ball the way they did, you have to win that football game. So, I just think that the defense, it was poor. I won't say terrible, but it was poor. It was below what it had been last year. I think during that streak. And I'm not saying I was done with Tony White, but after the Pitt game, I was thinking, man, I don't know if this is the answer because this may have been a failure. But the last couple weeks, it's looked better. Now I would say this though, Wake Forest got behind. That set up perfectly for you. That's a game where you get a lead. Wake Forest is out of their comfort zone. You're at home. It's homecoming. Wake doesn't show up really, and then they have to start doing things they don't want to do, like throw the football. And so I think that was kind of it was a gimme a little bit, the way the game played out for the defense. And then the Clemson game, I mean, we can look at statistically and give them credit, and I'll do that. And I'll probably write a story this week about the defense looking better. But the reality is you were down 18-0 in the first half, and I think Dabo Swinney and everybody else in that stadium and everybody watching on TV could look at Florida State's offense and the way they're stumbling all over themselves, fumbling the ball, throwing the ball. It was just incompetence on offense. So at that point, I think Clemson was like, you know what, let's just let them beat themselves. They can't beat us unless we throw a pick. Cade Klubnik does something that only Cade Klubnik might do. And so I think they just shut it down. So, I don't know how much we could take away from that win or from that performance. So if those two performances are not as good as they maybe look on paper, now we still have to go back and look at those other 3 or 4 games. So I think it's hard to judge right now. I think in a big picture what this defense really is. I think Virginia Tech's a good case study. If Virginia Tech gets behind and they have to throw the football, it could be another impressive looking performance. But if their running game gets going and if your offense isn't good, we may get a different picture of what this defense looks like. So I don't know if I'm giving a clear picture. I just think it's more complicated than just the results.
To be clear, Tom, really looking at Warchant.com's message boards, there's a couple threads about, is Tony really as good as we thought he was going to be, but it's not nearly as, volatile as what people talking about the offense right now. And any theories as to why the defense, maybe people are feeling it's redeemable at this point?
Well, I'm like Ira. I think there's a lot to consider there. The Alabama performance changes everything. You talked about it with a Tommy Castellanos question, Aslan, where you said, do you think maybe before August 29 and after they might have changed some expectations? I know the fan base did. I know I did, because they look so buttoned up for that game against Alabama. I'm like, wow, is that really what's possible this year? Whereas before the season started, I really thought the offense was going to be the side of the ball that needed to carry because of personnel deficiencies on defense, and also the new scheme that they're breaking in. So that sounds all very, very nice and neat for Tony White. But then to Ira's point, I totally agree. The Pitt game happens, and I go, that's indefensible, man. And then on the other side of it, too, away from the game, that UCLA deal with, I wasn't supposed to be on the Zoom call. I had no idea what the link was. I didn't love that. So I'm wondering, is your head in this thing? But here we are now a little bit later away from that Pitt game. I thought they looked extremely buttoned up for the Clemson game. It's just that there are personnel deficiencies. So I feel like I've gone 360 from about mid-August to where we are right now. And I think Tony's done a decent job. but I wouldn't say that he's passed with flying colors either. So it's a tough thing to dissect. The offense is the much easier thing to look at and say, well, where the hell has the production been the last few weeks?
Yeah, real quick, Aslan, just follow up on that. Yeah, I agree everything what Tom said, but specifically the part about they look button up against Clemson. I do want to give them credit for that. Even the plays that Clemson made, I thought Florida State was in position. I thought they were well prepared for that game. I just don't know if I can walk away and say, oh, you held Clemson to 310 yards and 24 points is an accurate reflection when I think they were pretty content to kind of just grind it out in the second half. You even pointed out, I think in our text after the game that Clemson was, snapping the ball with 5 seconds left on the clock. I mean, they were trying to shorten that game. But the other thing is, when you do look at, this Clemson, this Florida State defense, they do hit hard. He has brought some really good things to them. I don't want to say it's been a failure. I think I agree exactly what Tom said. It's been about what you probably could hope for. But the people who are like Tony White for head coach, that kind of stuff, I'm like, I don't know if it hasn't been that impressive a performance to me.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. You guys want to feel old, everybody. 26 seasons ago, at the end of it, these two teams collided for the national title. Won't be that level of stakes, obviously, on Saturday night, but the Hokies coming off a bye, are they a little bit of a tricky matchup for the Noles? We'll talk about it next, right after this, on the Warchant Report, powered by Cummins. Coming soon, on the field, a resurgent Florida State football team, we all hope. And off the field, the Cummins own and QG 7000i DF. The DF standing for dual fuel. That's right, a generator that can run on gasoline or liquid propane. Available later this year, the own and QG 7000i is a great fit for your Class A or fifth wheel RV. In addition to the versatility of dual fuel sources, the QG 7000i delivers world-class engineering from Cummins that results in low vibration, clean exhaust, and electric fuel injection for better efficiency and less maintenance. Follow CumminsLifestyle on Instagram for more information and be the first to know when the QG 7000i drops. Cummins, a world power leader. Welcome back, Warchant Report, powered by Cummins, CumminsLifestyle. Give it a follow over on Instagram. Come check us out over at warchant.com. It's not a free follow, but it's only $1 for a week. Get full access to warchant.com, all of our writing when it comes to football, recruiting. You can check out all the message boards of your rivals. You can also read Andy Staples, Brett McMurphy, Ari Wasserman, the entire team of On3. With that one subscription, you get access to all of that stuff. And guess what? When you subscribe to warchant.com and On3, we're not going to get into a dispute with an internet company and go dark. We're going to be there for you folks. Good luck to everybody out there with YouTube TV. Hopefully it all works out here sooner rather than later. Part of the show now where we talk about the opposing team. And to start us off, we like to speak to someone on the beat. We have Matt LaSerre do that. He caught up with Andy Bitter to see how the Hokies have been trending ever since making a change up top.
All right, we're back again going over another Florida State opponent. We only got a few of these left. This week we got Virginia Tech coming to town, Doak Campbell Stadium, night game once again. This week we have Andy Bitter from Tech Sidelines back with us. He was with us before when Florida State last played Virginia Tech. Andy, thank you for taking the time for coming on, man. So to get started, everyone loves to talk about quarterbacks, especially one like Kyron Drones, who is very athletic, can run, always one that's fun to watch, right? What has he kind of been like this year?
I think they've tried to make him more of a passer than in the past, and I don't know that it's necessarily working. I just don't think that's a strong part of his game. That was sort of part of the off-season movement. You hired Philip Montgomery, a offensive coordinator who's been known for getting the most out of his passers, and the results have been mixed. There's been some games where he's looked okay passing. There's been some games, the Louisville one especially, they had 76 passing yards in the game. How many power conference teams are you going to beat when you're only throwing for 76 yards? Unless you're just this option team that goes out and overwhelms teams with the run. And, to Drones' credit, he can do that sometimes. He did that in that Cal game. He ran for 137. Marcellus Hawkins ran for 167. They ran for 357 as a team. When they're playing like that and pounding the run, he is a very effective quarterback and throw off play action. You always have to account for him on the ground. When they're behind and he has to drop back 30 times a game and throw it and get them back in, that's not going to work. That's not how this team is made to play. So sort of a mixed bag there with what they had. But, I mean, the potential is always still there. You look at the physical tools. He's a guy who, if the situation is right, can put up a big game like that.
What we've heard from talking to Norvell and other guys this week, this is a team that wants to run the ball first, and that if they can run the ball on you every play, they will. So what kind of weapons are we looking at when it comes to that? Like, who's the main running guy? Obviously, it's Drones, and then who else is there?
Yeah, I think two backs you look at are the main guys. Marcellus Hawkins, a Division II transfer from Central Missouri State last year, is kind of surprised me with his versatility that he offers as a running back. Terry and Stewart came in from Bowling Green. He's sort of a bowling ball of a running back. He's 5'7" to be charitable, 225 pounds. He's just low center of gravity, really tough to tackle. Hawkins isn't a small guy either. He's 215, 220. You add Drones, who's 235 to that mix. If they can run the ball a lot and pound it, and that's sort of the strength of this offensive line is run blocking, that wears on a team. That becomes tough to tackle those guys over the course of 60 minutes. So I think it's so key for Virginia Tech to either play with a lead or play within a reasonable deficit that they don't have to abandon the run. Because as soon as they're down 20 and they have to start throwing the ball, it's game over. They're just not going to win that. But if they're playing ahead or like they were against NC State, kind of even with them the entire time, this becomes a much more difficult offense to handle.
When it comes to the defensive side, who are the main guys that we should be aware of and really maybe could cause some havoc for FSU?
I think you start in the middle of that defensive line, and I think they've got three really good tackles that rotate in there. Kamari Copeland's kind of the headliner, weight room beast, really physical, athletic guy at tackle. Kelvin Gilliam starting right next to him, team leader, guy that everybody follows on that defense. And then Cody Heisman is a North Dakota State transfer who came in that's rotated in and been a very productive guy, very intelligent guy on the line. I think that gives you a very good start in the middle of that defense. That's where I think the strength is for this group. You fan out from that a little bit, it becomes a few more question marks. Who gets after the quarterback from end? Who's playing at linebacker? They're rotating a lot of true freshmen into a couple different spots on this defense too. But I think right there in the middle, you go, okay, you're not just going to line up and just run it straight up the gut on us. I think that the tackles do a pretty good job in there.
Yeah, with that, what's the kind of secondary look like? Because Florida State's going to try to do that and run the ball straight up the middle. If they can't stop that, who is there to defend, say, a Deuce Robinson, who Tommy loves to throw to? It's
a dwindling group. They've had off-season injury cost of Joshua Clark, who they were excited about at cornerback. Caleb Brown injured his shoulder. He's out for the year at cornerback. Dante Lovett entered the transfer portal after Brett Pry got fired. That's three guys who are expected to contribute that are not available. So now, Thomas Williams, Isaiah Brown Murray have sort of been the top two guys there. JoJo Crim's a true freshman that's thrown into the mix, thrown into the fire right now at corner. Safety has a similar question marks. A lot of injuries in that spot. Sheldon Robinson is a true freshman who's playing safety. So, those two guys have got a true freshman at linebacker, Noah Chambers. It's just a lot of youth at some of those spots. And I think, it's been a group that has competed, but I wouldn't say that it's a strength of this defense necessarily. I think that's a way that you can beat this team is you go to the air. You see, some of the success Louisville had. I know Louisville ran the ball very well last week too, but I think they hit some big plays in the air that really, hurt this defense and changed the tide of that game. I think that's the spot I'd look at and go, hey, can the Hokies hold up there against this FSU offense?
Awesome. And thank you again, Andy, for coming on and previewing this team with us, getting our viewers more familiar with Virginia Tech. If you guys want to see what's going on over there and get some more inside info going into the game, maybe about a coaching search, maybe here down the line, FSU and Virginia Tech will be competing for the same guy when it comes to that. But who knows who's happening here? Nothing's happened yet. But thank you again, Andy, from Tech Sidelines. Go over there, check this stuff out. A lot of good work up there. Thank you, Andy, for coming on with us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thanks to Andy for taking time out. Thanks to Matt for catching up with Andy. Turn to you then, Tom. So we give you guys some good news, right? Philip Montgomery, the interim coach over at Virginia Tech, was the head coach at Tulsa back when Mike Norvell was the head coach at Memphis. So they've played 5 times prior. Mike Norvell's won 4 out of those 5 contests. But this run attack for Virginia Tech has kind of found some new footing after their first bye week. So they had a bye week, played 2 games, beat Cal in overtime, lost to Louisville, then had a bye week. Now they're playing Florida State. Have they changed at all in this kind of second, third part of the season offensively, and how does that match up with Florida State's defense, do you think, Tom?
I don't know how much they've changed. What I really focused on was the last 2 games, the Louisville game and the Cal game, and what I see is that it's all based upon Kyron Drones in terms of what they do from a running standpoint. Everything has a read option presentation, if not a straight-up option for Kyron to keep it, so you always have to account for the quarterback. There are RPO elements off of what they do, but then there's a lot of tricks and misdirections and motions to set up their inside runs, their outside runs. They'll do things like Gus Malzahn does, where a couple of guards will pull from right to left, but then the actual play will go the other way. It will go in the other direction. So this is a real interesting test for Florida State in a weird spot. I'm glad this game is at home and not on the road, because it's going to require extreme physical commitment on their part and extreme focus and discipline to stay within their own lanes. It's nothing that's going to wow you in terms of scheme, but if you're just talking about minding your P's and Q's, staying in your lane, contain, leverage, all those things, they're going to be tested the entire width of the field, because you don't know necessarily which direction Virginia Tech's going to run the ball. And then to boot, beyond Kyron Jones, who's a large human being, Marcellus Hawkins is their lead back. He's 5'11", 210-ish. He's got a little bit of wiggle and speed to him, but he's physical. And then Terrion Stewart, number 8, 5'9", 220. That's a bowling ball of a runner as well. So this is an interesting test for Florida State. Do they wish to be physical from the get-go? It will be required of them to be physical and smart throughout on Saturday night.
Virginia Tech's been ravaged with defections, Ira, ever since Brent Pry was let go. A lot of guys have preserved their red shirt and opted out, and their secondary's been hit really, really hard. They got true freshmen back there that really aren't ready to play. Their passing defense ranks in the hundreds. So there's going to be a lot of opportunity there, you would imagine, for Florida State's passing game, which relies on the big shot. But running the football, I think, is probably the most important thing for either side in this game, and for most any team playing on a Saturday, Ira. But it seems like after speaking to Mike on Monday, and we spoke to Gus on Sunday, they realize they probably need a more coherent strategy, if you will, at running back with the rotation. Do you expect to see a more consolidated kind of usage from the running backs, and what could that mean for the offense?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are talking about that this week, and I haven't been as bothered by it, because I don't really feel like anybody has been sensational or terrible. To me, that whole group of running backs has all been, they're in different ways. They've all been somewhat effective, but not special, and nobody's been awful. So I don't know. I'm not as wrapped up in the whole who gets to play. And I get it. I understand, like, when things aren't good, and especially when we talked about Gus Malzahn coming in, that was one of the things a lot of people were looking forward to, is that there would be some clarity at running back, because we felt like that was a problem last year, and it seems to be still there. I don't know why that is. I don't know why, Mike Norvell and David Johnson, along with Gus, they won't commit to whatever the plan is. It seems very haphazard, and I think that's getting fans frustrated, because it seems like you don't really have a plan when a guy who doesn't get a carry for 4 weeks, like Sam Singleton, or maybe gets 1 carry, all of a sudden is your featured back. And then, other guys are featured backs like Gavin Sawchuk for a couple weeks, and then they're kind of on a milk carton after that. So it is weird, and when things aren't going well, I understand why people are frustrated by it. But I don't. To me, I just don't think it's one of the big concerns, because I don't know that anybody's going to be great or anybody's going to be terrible. So to me, it's kind of a wash. I did want to follow up on what Tom was saying about that Virginia Tech running game, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
I think this is going to be a very interesting game, not just because the schemes are a big part of it. The physicality is a big part of it. And really the biggest thing to me is, where is Florida State mentally at this point? Like, where are these defensive players mentally at this point? Because I feel like, going, after the bye week against Wake Forest, I feel like they were committed. Going to Clemson, they're definitely committed. Man, that's Clemson. Scouts are going to be there. The country's going to be watching. It's Clemson. They were committed. Coming back home is a big favorite, not after a bye week. I am curious, because it's late in the season now. This is the least of your 3 most intimidating final games. And if you aren't committed to stopping the run, it could play out completely different than that Wake Forest game. And again, that's where that Wake Forest game was misleading because it played out perfectly for Florida State. If this doesn't play out perfect, if this plays out well for Virginia Tech, it could go sideways. And Drones, man, he has not been the quarterback anybody expected him to be. Maybe 3 years ago when he kind of burst onto the scene, whenever 3 or 4 years ago, whenever that was. But dude, he can run, and he is an impressive dude, and they've got some good backs. So I think this is going to be a really challenging game, and it's going to tell us a lot about how committed this defense is at this point in the season.
Yeah, he's a willing runner, man. Like he'll absorb the contact for sure. Any thoughts on the running back usage for you, Tom? I get the way the offense has been performing. It's either 4 or 5 play, big drive, or they go kind of 3 and out. So it's hard to get one guy out there and see him do well in enough snaps to like ride with them. But would you like to see maybe a focus on one guy, maybe for the first quarter, maybe first half, and then from their pivot? Do you think they'll consolidate and limit the usage of their running backs in terms of the number of guys they throw out there?
I would love to see Florida State pick a guy. I would love to see it. That's a personal thing of mine. It was, and I alluded to it. Some people I'm one of those some people. It drives me batty because I think also it's hard to get into the rhythm of the game. And sometimes, you've put so much pressure on yourself because you know that this might be your 1 or 2 carries that you get. And if you're not great, then that's it, because there could be any number of 4 or 5 other guys. I just feel like there's a chance for development for some of these players, maybe like a Chroma or even Sawchuk. I thought he did nothing wrong to lose the gig. It's a little bit frustrating. And I think that leads to a feeling that they might be grasping and looking for a hero. And I don't think that's necessarily what's going on, but it feels that way. And I think also when you see some disjointedness in the offense and the flow of the offense, like Jalen Lucas drops the pass. He should never have dropped that pass on a wheel route on second down. It's not a great throw, but it's catchable, and you shouldn't drop it. But I feel like because he only gets very few opportunities, he might be in his own head saying, I must make this play, and it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, Aslan, of something bad happening. I know that's in the pass game, but Jalen is supposed to be used in the backfield as a running back, and there's like 9 guys. I was hoping with Gus we would get a little bit more. You know how they use Deuce Robinson in the pass game? I thought there would be a Deuce in the backfield in terms of usage, and it just hasn't been there.
No.
Don't you think, though, real quick, don't you think if somebody, like you said, Gavin didn't do anything to lose it, but he didn't do anything to be like, I've got to be on the field, right? I mean, that's to me part of it as well. But I get your point. I'm just saying it would have been nice if Usman got some chances, Gavin got some chances. It would be nice if one of them would actually do that.
Totally agree. I just think that they almost have this thing like they did last year where it's, look how many guys we have. I'm like, that's great that you've got a lot of guys. Like I would, even if it's Chroma, because you're building for the future, I feel like that's something that a lot of people could rally behind and say, let 32 make mistakes. He's going to fumble. He's going to, he's going to pick the wrong hole, whatever it is. But give me somebody that I know is going to be there each week in, week out. But again, that's picky. I don't think that's the reason they're losing or that's the reason they're failing. It's just kind of a cosmetic that makes me go, all right, man. It's kind of
we got to talk about some of you guys. What about you, Tom? What if they win out? And listen, hey, they're due for a Roydell Williams game too. Gosh darn it, they are due.
Yes, or Cam Davis. Maybe this is Cam Davis week. You never know. You stay tuned. You never know.
We haven't even gotten into the full stable, guys.
I'm glad that the win out question has driven Ira to my side of the aisle. I'm like, welcome aboard, Ira. I don't care who pushed you here. I'm just glad you're here.
All right, we got one last segment coming up, and it's the best part, I feel like. It's prediction time. Everybody from the Warchant.com staff giving you their thoughts and predictions on Virginia Tech, Florida State. Coming up right after this on the Warchant Report, powered by Cummins. A rebuild is in progress. Whether it's one of the top brands in college athletics or your adventurous spirit, we all need to recharge from time to time. So trust Cummins, the brand that's been a global power leader for over 100 years. Featuring the Onan line of portable power generators and power stations, tackle any project in your own climb to the top. Follow CumminsLifestyle on Instagram to see the latest builds from the Cummins team and to get inspiration for your next outing. And get your questions into the Renegade Express mailbag. Be the one that's generating discussion to earn entry into the December grand prize drawing for a portable generator or power station from Cummins. CumminsLifestyle on Instagram. Give it a follow. Welcome back. It's a Warchant Report powered by Cummins. CumminsLifestyle. Give it a follow on Instagram. In case you don't know, the two guys on the screen above here, they do a show on Mondays called the Monday Smash. If you like this discussion, this conversation, it's even better when these two guys get together every Monday, usually 7 p.m. So put that on your social calendar, boys and girls. And don't forget, pregame show coming your way 9 a.m. with Jeff Cameron and Tom Lang setting things up on game day for Florida State taking on Virginia Tech. Again, home finale for your Seminoles. And then following the game, 10 to 15 minutes afterwards, the postgame show with Gene Williams and Tom Lang. So Warchant's got you covered all week long. And then obviously on game day, we come correct, we come strong. Check us out. All right, we're going to make our picks here in a minute, but let's draft. Let's get a feeling for what everybody else on staff thinks when it comes to this game. It's time for our picks. Gene Williams, please start us off.
Florida State is looking to get back to 500 with a home tilt against the Virginia Tech Hokies. The 3-6 Hokies, who are 13.5-point underdogs to the Noles. How about that? We'll have to see how this one plays out. They're 3-6, the Hokies. Earlier lost to Old Dominion. That's embarrassing. And they don't look really good when you look at the rankings. They rank number 88 in total offense, number 67 in defense, actually 101 in scoring defense. Meanwhile, for some reason, Florida State actually ranks pretty high in the rankings, number 3 in offense, 27 in defense, or 24 in defense. So it seems like a mismatch on paper, but a lot of this is which FSU team will show up. Will it be the team that blew out Wake Forest a few weeks ago, or will it be the team that looked horrific against Stanford? So we don't know. I'm going to think Florida State will be at home. It's the home finale. They'll get the win. Let's go with FSU 38, the Hokies 24.
What's up, Nole fans? Here for another prediction. I'm money on these things. I think I've gotten 2 in a row right, though, which is awesome. And I'm about to make it 3-0 because I got the Noles 38, Virginia Tech 20. I think it's going to be I think they're going to cover. I think Florida State's going to play well. I think Virginia Tech's offense, the way Florida State's playing on defense now, where Wake Forest averaged 2.1 yards per carry, Clemson averaged 2.7 yards per carry. Virginia Tech's going to try to run the ball. That's what they do, but I think Florida State's getting better in that department. I think they're going to shut them down or at least slow them down enough to make them throw, force a couple turnovers. Wouldn't that be awesome? And then the offense will shine, roll to 35 to 38 points. Let's say 38 to 20 Noles.
All right, back at home, I'll take Florida State. 14-point spread. How about we go Florida State 30 and Virginia Tech 21? 30-21 Noles.
I have Florida State winning 35-28. I think the 14.5-point spread is way too much for me personally. I think, Florida State's run defense hasn't been great this year, and that's what Virginia Tech's good at. And also Kyron Jones can run, and that is not what Florida State is good at. They've had issues with mobile quarterbacks so far this year. So I think that's where Virginia Tech will make most of their money when it comes to Saturday. But in general, this defense for Virginia Tech is also not good. You should be able to take advantage of a deuce mismatch with anyone in that secondary and easily throw it up to them. I think you're going to have to see a lot more outside runs. They do have good interior defensive linemen. So the main thing, I would say, run more outside than in between the tackles like they normally like to, and then get that ball downfield to deuce, and they should be all right. Again, 35-28 Noles.
All right, thanks to the gentlemen for their picks. Time for us to make ours, but again, one last friendly reminder. Check out CumminsLifestyle on Instagram. It's a generator company, and it's an Instagram. What is this all about, Aslan? Well, check it out. You can see all the cool things you can do when you've got a portable generator, portable power station, RV generator, and when you know it's reliable, it's quiet. Cummins has got you covered, everybody. Give them a follow on Instagram, CumminsLifestyle, all one word. All right, here we go. Tom Lang, start us off here as Florida State, again, heads into this one against Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech fresh off of a bye. We've seen how good Florida State can look off of a bye. This shouldn't be as close as I think it might end up being. I want to get your thoughts on it. Your thoughts, your pick for Florida State and Virginia Tech.
I think I'm 2-7 this year, and the 2 wins are against the directional schools. So I don't know that anybody wants my picks or bet the opposite. And there you go. I know what I'm looking for. I'm looking for Darrell Jackson, Earl Little, Ashland Barker on defense. I feel like this is a game where those physical presences can let it be known that they're engaged, to Ira's question, and they could really make a difference in this game. On offense for both teams, Tommy and Kyron are kind of the same, where they'll make great throws, and you'll say, wow, how's that possible? And then they'll make terrible throws, and you'll say, wow, how is that possible? So there's a lot of variance here. I really don't know what to do, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say Florida State 27, Virginia Tech 21. The Noles win. There you go. Let's see if I get my 3rd win of the year.
Ira Schofel, your pick, please.
Yeah, my record's not any better. Listen, I am concerned about this game, as I said before, mostly on the defensive side, especially if it doesn't start off great for Florida State offensively. I think we haven't talked about it a lot this week. Jabril Rawls injury, if he's not available to play, and it looked like it was a shoulder thing in the game, we'll see how he is. I think it's a big deal, man. You've already lost Quindarius Jones. I don't love some of the young corners. We were excited about the talent in that secondary from those young guys, but I think there's a reason they didn't let those guys play much in the first 6 games of the season until they kind of had to. And so I'm a little bit concerned about that, not because Virginia Tech's a great passing game, but to Tom's point, I mean, they can hit some throws and they'll take some shots. So, and if you're committing so much to the run, you can certainly get beat over the top. So I think I'm going to pick Florida State to win just because I don't think Virginia Tech's a very good team, but I think it's going to be a high scoring affair. I'm going to take FSU 38-31 over the Hokies.
Oh, all right. I was thinking about making my pick of just, is Florida.
Let me guess, 28-27 Virginia Tech. Is that possible?
Sure.
Not to jump
no, go back to the Florida State pick. Listen, I've been vacillating between both of these sort of picks, Ira, and then the way you're talking about, like, listen, can they get up, where they at emotionally? I'm like, I didn't want to think about that, but you do have to think about it. What I'm thinking is that, can Florida State really win a close game? So I don't know if I don't want to see a close one, because I think Virginia Tech, crazily enough, even on the road, might be the team that figures it out better than Florida State. But I just don't see Gus's offense laying an egg 2 weeks in a row. I think Virginia Tech's just a little bit outmatched defensively, especially in the secondary, and Deuce, as long as he's going. So I think they might even cover. Well, actually, they won't cover. Well, they will cover 31-20. It's 10.5 right now or so as we sit here and talk. I'll go Florida State 31-20. Yeah.
The indignity. How is this the first time you picked FSU since what?
Pitt? No, I think I picked. Did I pick? I picked. Yeah, Miami. Actually, I picked them against Miami. So everybody got off my back. Had faith early in the season, and it has been lost. Maybe if they win out, it'll come back and it'll be restored. In the meantime, check out warchant.com for real stories based in reality on this planet that we live. The Jeff Cameron Show, 1 to 4 o'clock throughout the week. Wake Up Warchant as well. And don't forget, we got a meet and greet the night before the game over the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill Friday, 2475 Appalachia Parkway. Pre-game show, 9 a.m. on Saturday. Meet and greet game day, Hotel Indigo, 4 p.m. with Jeff Cameron and Tom Lang. And then that post-game show, 10 to 15 minutes at the conclusion of the 5th game as the Noles climb to bowl eligibility here, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Thanks to our staff for submitting their picks. Thank you to Ira Schofel and Tom Lang. I'm Aslan Hajavandi. Again, check out CumminsLifestyle on Instagram. It's all one word. Have a great day. Go Noles, and stay connected to warchant.com.